Looking to play some Yasuo? Well, I got you covered. So what are the benefits of playing Riot's Weaboo Wet Dream? Well, he has the ability to stop any projectile in the game with the click of a button, manaless and essentially cooldownless, very high outplay potential, extremely high mobility, and he can CC an entire team with a well-placed Q or a follow-up. However, there are some downsides to playing Riots' Sweet Baby. Quite difficult to pick up and master, very squishy for a melee champion, has a rather weak early game, and you always gotta wait for that 0-10 power spike. Now, with that out of the way, let's take a look at those abilities. His passive is Way of the Wanderer. This grants Yasuo 2.5 times crit chance on all his items, and any crit chance above 100% is converted into AD. He also builds up stacks when moving around, and once he's at 100%, the next ability or attack that damages Yasuo procs a shield for him. That also doesn't include tower shots. His Q is Steel Tempest. Yasuo pokes a sword in front of him, dealing damage and applying on-hit effects. If you do land this twice in a certain time frame, you are now holding a tornado in your sword, and the next time you use it, it'll throw out a tornado to knock up any enemy it hits. Also, the cooldown on this ability is reduced by your attack speed, so keep that in mind. His W is Face the Wind! Yasuo throws up a wind wall for one whole eternity, and it'll block any projectile that hits it. Stand in the wind wall, and you're essentially immune to any projectiles for the rest of the time. His E is Sweeping Blade. This allows Yasuo to dash through any enemy for a fixed amount of time. The more you cast it, the quicker and more stacks you get, and the more damage you deal. If you do have your tornado friend in your pocket, you can recast your Q after the dash, and instead of throwing out the tornado, you are the tornado, and you knock up anyone around you. His R is Last Breath. If any enemy is knocked up for any reason, he can activate this in DBZ right behind them. Then he'll hold them there for 1 second and slam them down, dealing damage. You can knock the enemy up with your tornado friend, or you can pair it with another knockup. Malphite's your best friend. Alright, now that we got that covered, let's take a look at those runes. You are essentially a melee ADC, so you do want to take this precision tree. Lethal Tempo is your keystone, Triumph, Alacrity, and Last Stand. Then we go Shrek Tree for additional tankiness and sustain. You can't see an argument for taking Cut Down instead of Last Stand, and honestly, any of the green tree runes would be fine. You do you. Last up, we are one aggressive boy, so we want to take Ignite and Flash. Now, before we get into the gameplay, let's take a look at those items. Your passive does double your crit chance, so you want to take those crit items. However, always make sure to start tier 2 boots for that Q cooldown and your flow charging. Then pick up Kraken Slayer and Infinity Edge for the most damage, lifesteal items to keep you alive, and any survivability items after that. Adjust this based on your mass up, but essentially any item with crit works, so just keep that in mind. If you're liking this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. It really does help keeping this channel growing. And that's it. We did it! We're in the game, and for someone with only a sword, we can do sword or board, depending on poke versus not. But always remember to take that red sake for the drunk swordsman, and let's get into that laning phase. Early in the game, you are quite susceptible to poke, especially when your passive shield is down, so farm with your Q, use your E to try and avoid poke whenever possible. Also, once it's up, you don't want to throw out wind wall too often, as it can be essential in keeping you alive in the more dire situations. Your early game isn't the best, so you can just try and poke when your tornado's up. But when you do get a chance, you can close the gap with your E, go for a short trade with your Q, auto, and then back out with your E again. If you do have the option, keep the enemy low so you have higher kill pressure once you hit level 6, and you can just go all in. Then once they're dead, push their tower, take their plates, crowd their tower, then get ready for that mid and late game. So once you and your allies start roading, you can provide very strong side lane pressure with your ability to push waves and absolutely annihilate towers. If someone does try and match you and you're ahead, it's all ogre for them, because it's going to be really hard to stop you from taking the side lanes and killing them in the process. However, don't focus entirely on side lane, as your ult can easily turn a fight with the additional CC it provides. If you're paired with another champion like Malphite, which we talked about earlier, Ornn, Alistar, or anyone with a big knockup, then you just want to stay within ult range when an objective is coming up. It's so easy to get a quick kill on the enemy when objective's up, and you can continue to snowball or change the game in your favor. But once you get a hang of that, you'll take objectives, win fights, push lanes, and keep the good times rolling. We did it! We won the game, and if you enjoyed this video, feel free to check out the video as we unbenched that Kench. Talk to you later!